Luca Nation, episode 892, and this is one where we haven't done a brain dump, so to speak, in what feels like 2 or 3 weeks. So, welcome back. We'll be announcing the Hobby Awards this week. Look out for a DM from me if you've commented. I'll be reaching out to you with your prize, and we'll also be doing the tallying up the polls, posting on IG. I apologize for the delay. A little bit of flight difficulties getting back to Florida. So you could see I'm still here in Philadelphia for the next 5 days. And it kind of gave me an idea or a thought that we'll discuss on today's brain dump. So we'll talk about our show's in trouble. We'll talk about Donovan Mitchell's insane performance, why Brock Purdy is the next Tom Brady, and prayers to Mr. Hamlin on the Bills. That was a scary sight, and a lot of people had their support, their thoughts, and a whole bunch of other stuff. But welcome back to Lucas Tigers and Bronze, my show, the best sports card network, not just podcast in the hobby. Thank you, Luca Nation. Cage, you're the best co-host in the hobby, so thank you for being here.
We're having some fun, man. We're having some fun. Brain dump time. So much craziness last night. I mean, we don't know anything about the Hamlin situation, so we could touch on it, but really, neither of us are doctors, nor do we have any kind of an update beyond what we were told, basically game time. Good that they canceled it. Good that the players, basically got together and said, assuming that the league was like, get back out there and play, the coaches and the players were like, no. Good for them.
I have a thought. It might be out of left field, but I hate public shaming. I think we are such a public shaming culture now. It's insane. So I saw people people were selling Hamlin cards, but accounts were taking those cards, and being like, this is a disgrace. How can you go and sell his cards? Like, how can you mark up the price? And I don't understand why we shame each other. I really can't understand it. Why do we shame each other for personal decisions as if the whole world needs to stop and revolve around this guy's
All right. So one, DeMar Hamlin. Two, I'm going to shame you.
Thank you.
I'm going to shame you then.
Hamlin is a driver, right?
Yeah. Yes. Denny Hamlin is a driver.
My apologies.
So the shaming you here is this. So then why do we complain when somebody grabs a card? Let's hypothetically say the 86 Fleer Michael Jordan.
Okay.
And they post in November that they've obtained the Grail card, a lifetime pursuit of that card. It was a card. Oh my God, I'm so happy I got that card. And then we see that they listed for sale immediately following that. And then you're like, oh, come on. What's wrong with these people? How dare they?
Well, what's funny about that? Well, it's funny about what Cage is, just getting a peek, like if you look under the cover, under the hood there, is I sent our group chat that the graphic from All-Star Cards 23.
And then Cardporn posted it, and we were like, what the hell, Andrew's Cardporn?
Andrew's Cardporn. To me, it was the hypocrisy of saying this is your dream card and then posting it for sale was interesting. But I would never go and use my platform to go and public shame him because it's
so you're not Cardporn.
So he's doing nothing wrong. It's his card. He could sell it a day later, a month later, a year later. It's his card. He paid for it. He didn't do anything wrong. The humor about it was, hey, here's my dream card.
Yeah. And
here I'm selling a month later. And I know the guy. It's funny, the background of that. So the guy I know, we played against him at Culture Collision last year. And he was wearing they won 13-11.
You want to find a way to be like,
I have been preparing my revenge, and as soon as I saw his dream card for sale, I couldn't
his dream card, you bought it. You turned it into his nightmare.
Yeah, so I found him. No, the kid has amazing collection. I think he goes to school at University of Tampa. Good kid. Like everyone speaks super highly of him. I have no problem with it. I don't understand the public shaming though. Like I don't, and I don't understand the public shaming of the DeMar Hamlin. If people want to sell his cards and they want to ask for a certain price, and people are willing to pay for it, why is that bad? It happened with Kobe Bryant cards. I was torn up when I found out Kobe Bryant died. Should that stop the free market and capitalism from doing what it does? Do we all have to revolve around the health of people that we've never met and don't know? And two things can be true at the same time, too. We could be concerned, worried about his health, But people who own his cards and want to sell them, that's within their right. And I didn't understand some of the public shaming going on with
What's
that.
this word right here?
What?
Ghoul. Ghoul. What's this word? Ghoul. You see this word? It's a good clipping. It's a nasty thing. McGloin wouldn't approve. McGloin would say it's a ghoul's behavior. So if you're not,
what is he talking about?
That is you like Leonardo DiCaprio movies, right? So it's
even if I didn't, I'd have no way of responding to that.
Bill the Butcher sends them on a the Gangs of New York, which I know you've seen, sends them out on a little mission, and everyone's already dead. And instead of leaving empty-handed, they leave with the bodies, and they sell the bodies to science, and they wind up getting some money for selling these freshly dead bodies, and the headline calls them ghouls. So to me, that pops into my brain because it's public shaming, okay, but I mean, it's sort of ghoulish. You know what I mean? It's sort of ghoulish behavior. It's like, oh wow, let me, I don't know anything. I don't know the current health situation. Let me just run to eBay and flip some autos. Some of the prices I saw were absurd. I mean, people were sending me pictures last night. Like, could this possibly be? And I'm like, nah, no way. People are paying $20,000 for this guy's autograph because that's what some of the things were being bid up to. But I mean, I get what you're saying, and it's sort of like to each their own. I mean, if somebody has this guy's cards and wants to sell it now, go right ahead. I mean, no reason for a public shaming for it.
You might not agree with it personally, and that might not align with your values and ethics, but I don't know. I don't remember in my lifetime or why this has become where we are like, we just have this public shame for everything. Like, it's not even the big stuff, that really matters. It's almost all with the same tone and tenor.
So if a player went out there and dropped 25 straight points, 11 straight games, 25 points or more, 11 straight games, that's like, I mean, for an NBA season, that's like MVP-ish type behavior, right? If a player's putting that consistent effort out there, putting an entire team on his back, dropping, and the streak is current. If a player is currently out there, 11 straight 25-point games, I mean, that's some pretty heady stuff right there. That's what I consider like MVP type of play, especially when they're filling the stat sheets all other and the team's winning during those games, more than they're losing during those 11. Because that's what LeBron's doing right now. He's got 11 straight games of 25-plus points. 11 straight. Pretty impressive.
So
that's
during Brett Favre's MVP seasons, he put up 4,000 yards, 4,400 yards, 3,900 yards, 3,867 yards. Mm-hmm. Mahomes just did that with his eyes closed.
Well, not with his eyes closed, but he has a chance to get approximately 15% higher than that with one more game.
Yeah,
sure.
Mahomes at 5,000.
Approximately, just under 5,000. Just under 5,000. He leads the league and doesn't have 5,000 yet.
No, but Mahomes has 5,000 yards.
Just hit it this past week, then.
Correct.
Right, and he's the only one who has it, I think.
Correct. 5,048. Burrow has it. Josh Allen has it. The point is the game has changed, same as the NBA has changed. So you can't just use 25 and 11, which would have been an incredible.
How many players this year have had 25 points, 11 straight games in this year's game?
I don't know.
None. There's only one who's done it. 25 straight points in 11 straight games. And it's MVP type behavior. So I just want to make sure.
How many players have put up over 20 points for every single game this season? How many players have put up over 35 points in 5 straight games?
I don't know. Tell me.
Arbitrary numbers.
It's not, so tell me which ones. Tell me who has put up 20 points or more in every single game this season. Any?
Finish your LeBron narrative. I'll sit quietly and idly by.
It's not that. It's how about Zion? Number one team out there in the West, having a great game, and not even top 10 in the MVP discussion. And in my conversation with me and Cajun,
it's a good thing you and Cajun are the experts of the NBA space.
Yeah, exactly. We watch the games. You don't.
You make statements as if they're questions, and I don't know how to respond.
Your only response is to tell me that I'm wrong.
You're a genius. You're the smartest guy in the world.
It's not that. It's how can you say it's not MVP-ish behavior, and the response is Brett Favre had 4,400 yards.
I didn't say it's
the game
not
has
MVP-ish
changed.
behavior.
Yes, you did. Yeah.
No, I didn't.
I made a statement. I said LeBron James. I before even saying who the name was, you knew who I was talking about. I said 11 straight games of 25-plus points. Isn't that MVP-ish behavior? You said, no, Brett Favre.
Who actually won 3 MVPs?
No, Brett Favre, 4,400.
What really grinds my gears is when people lead MVP conversations and their first supporting argument is data and stats.
Wow.
That really, really pisses me off.
So what should we use? Unicorns and rainbows? Like, what do you want to throw out there as MVP conversations?
Here's how this player has impacted winning.
Oh, I get
and then support it with data. When we just lead with numbers, I could find numbers and they could dance all over the place. They could support any argument I want.
What Jokic win the last 2 years?
MVP?
Yeah. How does team do? I don't see any rings. I don't see any rings anywhere. I don't see any championship trophies.
What's an MVP?
On that guy.
It's a regular season award.
Wait, it's a regular season individual award.
Yes.
For the most valuable player.
Individual award, but like
does it say most valuable players? It's not an individual award. Wait. I got to back that one up. It's not. So is it given out to like Clay and Steph win it together? Is it the most valuable Splash Brothers? What are you talking about? Of course it's an individual award. All right. I'll let you back that one up because you feel silly about that one. It's okay.
I don't feel silly about anything. You're a lawyer and you're able to use your incredibly handsomeness craft to push me into a corner and then beat me up and kick me and stuff like that. But
he's not the MVP, but I'm pretty impressed when I see that. I'm impressed with what KD is doing. I wouldn't give him the MVP either. I think he's got a better supporting cast, but 12 games in a row to win for that team is pretty awesome. You want to talk about value to the team. The Knicks, I think, supporting cast is pretty terrible. What Jalen Brunson has done this year, he's kind of worth his contract. I'm not calling him the MVP. There are guys who have real significant value to their teams. I don't think that LeBron at 38 years old is getting the credit. He's got back-to-back 40-point games here. I mean, the last person to do that was Jordan. It's pretty impressive to see the stuff that's going on in the league. Your point, though, is an important one. It's the one I usually make when comparing my older players to the younger generation that's out there doing it now. And people are like, oh, Trae Young, look what he's doing. And I'm like, okay, look what he's doing, right? He's scoring how many points? What a great game. Luka, great game. All right. If some of the guys I rooted for in the 90s took 400 shots, they'd have those kind of stats too. So I understand your point about stats. Did Luka have a great game yesterday? He had 39, 12, and 8. Is Luka the MVP?
No.
You know, he was 1 for 9 from 3 points in that game.
Let me ask you this question, because I actually ask questions. You make statements in the form of questions, and I never know what the question is.
If Luka is the MVP, you answered it. That's an easy question. You said, no, Jokic is yours.
What's more impressive? So Devin Booker had a 70-point game versus the Celtics in a loss. Kind of a blowout loss. 71 points by Donovan Mitchell in an overtime win. What's more impressive?
I think the win in the overtime is more impressive because you needed those points. So to me, you can make an argument that it's harder to do what Booker did for 2 reasons. One, it was in regulation. He didn't have 50 minutes to do it, which is what Mitchell had. But I mean, the last couple of baskets didn't matter. You know, I mean, they needed every bit of Donovan Mitchell's points to win that game, to get to overtime, and then to win that game. So I'm going to say if it's a closer game, it's more impressive because they need it.
You guys, 892 episodes. You guys, I'm probably painted in the hobby as a LeBron hater, but it's just not the case. I think it's an and conversation, not an or. It's yes, he's putting up these amazing numbers. Can he also will them to a 4, a 5 seed? Because they're only 3 or 4 games behind that cage. They're not far out. So it's an and conversation.
Scored 43 yesterday. They needed every bit of them. Just hold on to beat the Hornets.
And then they beat the Heat the day before. So he's putting up these numbers and winning. Mm-hmm. I think an important criteria that isn't discussed and why Jordan lovers or whatever, fans, whatever you call them, are so behind Jordan is, yeah, he had the stats, but he also defended and was first team all defensive team, and he played in all 82 games. So he he knew what it took to will this team to victory while putting up incredible numbers. It's the end. It's can LeBron. He's 38, man. He's playing amazing. There's no doubt about that. But can he put up amazing numbers and also do what that team needs from him to win? Can he play defense? Can he lock up the main player when it's a 3-point game with a minute left? Is he willing to do that? Is he willing to help mentor the younger guys to elevate their game? That is where I view an MVP type of talent. And I'll say why I think Jokic is the MVP. LeBron early in his career, he was revered as an amazing passer. It was actually, there's a point in his career where people compared him to Magic Johnson and being one of the greatest passers of all time. And scoring was actually second. He could finish at the rim. He's working on his jump shot. It's sort of now with this whole points thing, him beating Kareem's record. He's the greatest scorer of all time, which is true. Jokic is the best passer I've seen in my lifetime. And
he's a lockdown defender at the end of the game. He takes the other team's number one player out of the game, lockdown defense.
Who's that?
Jokic?
No.
Okay. I mean, you've seen examples of him mentoring the younger players on his team. He takes Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. to the side and coaches them up and stuff. Those are the two things you said. Yeah. I don't know the answer.
So Aaron Gordon's having the best career of his life.
He's having the
best year of his career.
I understand what you mean. And you've seen Jokic going to the side, pull him to the side and say, listen, what you should do is a 360 dunk on this next one.
That's
right, Casper?
That's one version of it, but I'll give you another version. So why do we love Burrow, right? So there's accuracy in throwing the ball, right? There's arm strength, but there's also ways to move the safety so that you can create lanes to throw the ball into and make it easier on your wide receiver. You guys watch Joker pass the ball. The way he moves and manipulates the defense to make it easy on guys like Bruce Brown to finish at the rim. The way he opens shots and lanes up for the rest of his team through passing, that's what makes him unique. That's stuff that doesn't show up on the stat sheet. It shows up as an assist, but it doesn't show up about how he's manipulating the defense with his passing and his vision. That is also making your teammates better.
I think the Nuggets finished in 6th seed this year, and I'm getting a little tired of the choking on the Joker.
It's not choking on the Joker.
You can choke on Joker as much as you like. They're
not going to finish in the 6th. They're going to finish 1, 2, or 3. It's going to be Grizz.
Just choking on the Joker.
It's Grizz, Pelicans, and Nuggets are going to be in the fight for the 1 seed.
Okay. Grizz, Nuggets, Pelicans.
It's going to be a fight for the 1 seed.
How come not the Golden State Warriors anymore? Because Steph got injured?
Yes. Which they're 6-3 with Steph out. By the way, Cajun.
See, that's a pivot. That's a pivot right there. Clay with 54. No one's even talking about it. 54 points.
It sucks. I'm on the East Coast. I'm not staying up till 2 a.m. to watch games. It's bullshit.
54 points is a big game. I know somebody who's
I don't know that going into it, Cage. I don't know that going into it.
Clay's done. He's finished. He's a shell of his former self. You got to watch the games, and you'll be able to make these kind of calls. Clay is done. He's finished. 54.
Did you say? Is that what you said?
No, you did. About 7 episodes ago.
I said Clay is done and finished?
A shell of his former self, yeah.
It's amazing. Dude, you should work for TMZ. You're perfect for TMZ. You take all of the contents and nuance of a statement and you trim it.
Sort of like thumbnails. I would be good at thumbnails. I can make the money.
These are not thumbnails.
I could be a thumbnail.
It's not a thumbnail.
I could be a thumbnail, but I could make all the money in the world. I could be making thumbnails. It'd be amazing. It doesn't actually have to do with anything that's going on in the episode. But if the thumbnail looks good, hey, Clay's done. Andrew says Clay is done. Boom.
How would you do that in a graphic? How would you do that in a graphic?
How would I say Clay is done? I would put a picture of a thumb. I would say, check out this thumbnail. Clay is done, says Andrew.
And then Clay is in a casket, and then he's rising up.
Like this. It would be The Undertaker. Like this. Dong, Clay rising up. So that's NBA. I mean, there's some crazy stuff going on in the NBA. Joker's winning the MVP again for the 3rd straight year. The Nuggets are going to finish the 1 seed and then probably losing the first round of the playoffs again because his passing is just that good. We're going to see Denver do that. He's just going to pass his way right out of the playoffs.
What's your deal? What's your deal with Jokic?
He's irrelevant. He's about as irrelevant as they come. He is an anomaly. He is a fantastic player, and he's a good passer for a big man. but it's a boring thing to watch. And yeah, he's putting up spectacular stats. It really is, great, but it's not what makes the NBA exciting. It's just not. Right. And I love it.
Right? The Celtics.
Okay. That's irrelevant.
Cooked the Celtics.
Right. And everybody who was watching would much rather have Brown and Tatum shooting threes and putting Showtime basketball up there and watch that instead. People are probably upset that Jokic is getting the play that he is. You know what it's sort of like? It's sort of like no one wanting to root for the Detroit Pistons, who cooked the Bulls for a long time. So, and no one would ever say the Pistons are bad. And don't take this as a slight. You say, what's my problem with Jokic? We'll actually have a conversation about it. It's not a brand of basketball that the average basketball fan wants to watch, which is part of the reason why big men are not collectible. Right? The average person who's collecting cards, who's watching the NBA, who's clipping, who's watching excitement, who's watching Ja and his high-flyingness, he's watching windmill dunks. He doesn't care that LeBron is a passer. He cares about LeBron last night scoring 43 and having an alley-oop reverse dunk because that's what's clippable. Jokic is slow. He looks like a grizzly bear playing basketball. It would be like what I would look like playing basketball. Nobody wants to watch me play basketball. Nobody wants to watch Jokic play basketball. The stats are great. He's awesome. I mean, he's the best player 2 years running.
Do you think that's why our culture collision invite got lost in the mail?
Maybe. No one wants to watch me play basketball, even though I got like Jokic kind of
So let me ask you this question.
Shoot.
Performance aside on the court, who has the best personality in sports? Like the personality.
I never met any of them.
Like a Showtime personality.
I mean, Ja is exciting, if that's what you mean, right? I mean, Ja's bankable. Like, if I were making the video game for the NBA, I'd put Ja on the cover every year until somebody else takes that excitement mantle. Maybe Zion.
What about Edwards? Anthony Edwards.
So he was coming into this year, and everybody was excited about him. And then all of a sudden, he got in his head, don't dunk the ball. Like, remember, he had 2 dunks for the first 18 games of the year.
Gobert sleeps in the paint. But my point was this. Jokic reminds me of Magic. What made Magic special was he did the passing, but he had that personality. You wanted to watch him, that big smile, the charisma. I think a lot of people would argue Magic's game wasn't that exciting. It was a lot of passing or like sky hooks. It wasn't the most exciting stuff. He wasn't dunking on people. But his personality drew people in.
I mean, Magic led the Showtime Lakers. You know what I mean? So people watch that style of basketball. Nobody would call what the Nuggets are doing out there Showtime anything. You know what I mean? And Magic wasn't this guy Kareem was. But, Magic was a scorer. Right? Yeah, but he did it every now and again. Yeah, okay. But I mean, Magic's game, he played offense. He also played good defense. And he was a 6'10" point guard. With charisma, personality, flair. Look at all the women that love him, all that stuff, all that extra intangibles. Yeah, and Jokic, if he leans into the Borat thing, great. People would watch that more. Like if he leans into that, like if we got more of that, and he came out and did interviews afterwards, talked about his brother and his sister and stuff. I would love that. That would be great. But no, the Jokic is just boring.
You said Mr. Irrelevant.
Yes.
Jokic is irrelevant. I'm going on record here and saying that you guys need to start paying attention to Brock Purdy and the similarities with Brady. So think about this. Brady came in and got his claim to fame in the league under a good coach, probably the best defense in the league, and was asked to play within himself.
Yeah.
Drafted 5th, pick 198, right? 5th round, pick 198. Now you got Brock Purdy. Comes in. Oh, Drew Bledsoe got injured. Brock Purdy. Mr. Irrelevant, last pick in the draft, comes in. Great coach. Best defense in the league. Playmakers all around him. Don't do anything stupid. Just make the easy play that Kyle Shanahan maps out for you. Are we seeing parallels? And how are the 49ers not the team to beat out of the NFC? And how are they not going to win the Super Bowl for following this same track record?
They are the team to beat. I said they were the team to beat 4 weeks ago. But I was talking about Jimmy Garoppolo at the time, because I thought that defense was what's going to do it. And Garoppolo is exactly the same. Purdy's probably better than Garoppolo. He has shown that he can do the exact same thing, which is don't make the mistakes. But I would say he's a little bit more accurate of a passer. He can go down the field a little more. He's shown the ability to read the defenses a little bit better. So everything I said about Jimmy Garoppolo, if you remember, I did that whole, there's very little downside and only upside. You could say that about Brock Purdy. Also, the difficult part with Brock Purdy, you could pay attention to him from a betting standpoint. You could pay attention to him from a an NFL standpoint, but from a hobby standpoint, there's very little you can do to invest in him. There's some college jerseys, and I think, what is that? The Elite Donruss came out, and maybe Panini Mosaic might be out, but it's like a practice jersey. Like, there's nothing really. The good stuff's not out yet with his stuff, and unfortunately, you will know what he is by the time any of the investable cards come out for him. You'll know whether he's made it to the Super Bowl, or if he's been bounced and Cinderella story has come to an end. But yeah, I mean, nothing you're saying is wrong at all. I wouldn't go making the Brady comparison yet. It's very difficult not to, because you have the same scenario, and that defense is good enough to carry them to a Super Bowl with him doing nothing. It's like Ravens with Trent Dilfer. You know what I mean? Just don't turn it over. Don't make the mistakes.
Brady comparison, not Brady the finished product at Tampa Bay. Brady comparison as how he got there.
Yep, we talk about that. Brady was a system quarterback for the first half a decade. He wasn't. I mean, look at his numbers. He had like 20, 22 touchdowns. He wasn't throwing the ball all over the place. He wasn't putting up stats. The game, as you said, was different. Brett Favre was only throwing for 4,000 yards, but still, Brady was not going out there and lighting the world on fire. He didn't have career years until the end of his year when the game had changed. The end of his
Perhaps career. The best way to play the Purdy, it is a futures action play on the Super Bowl. And think about it this way, guys. So Cage has said all year long, NFC is weak. AFC's the juggernaut going to beat up on each other. Well, now you have Jalen Hurts coming back from sprained shoulder. Not just anybody can be quarterback of this Eagles team. What is this Eagles team going to be in the playoffs? We don't know. Are they even going to finish first? Not sure. So you have a wide open NFC, Cowboys and Dak. We know what those guys are. No offense. And then you got the AFC, which is we don't even know what's going to happen with the Bengals-Bills game yet, and who's actually going to get home field advantage. That's its own beast. And they're just going to beat up on each other, right?
I saw a stat leading into the game before, obviously, the craziness yesterday. But basically, they put all three of those teams up: the Bills, the Chiefs, and the Bengals. And they showed the odds of them getting to the Super Bowl with the 1 seed, as opposed to the odds of them getting Super Bowl without the 1 seed. Basically, home field advantage for the whole deal. Yeah. And it was almost the same for each one of them. Kansas City had the highest, non-1 seed. But if they were the 1 seed, it was like 33% that they get to the Super Bowl. Each one of them was like 33, 32, 31. Kansas City was like 21, 19, 18. Like, it's a huge difference. So the 1 seed there in the AFC, it matters a lot. But what it's saying to you is that it's still up for grabs. We don't know which one of those teams is going to get it. And, I mean, the NFC is crazy. But I think I looked at Super Bowl stats before the game yesterday. The odds were the Bills were the favorite. They were right now the money favorite. And then the Chiefs and the Bengals and the Niners were up there, and the Eagles were up there, But, yeah, it's about as wide open as we've seen it.
This 49ers team is made for a playoff run. Defense and running the ball. Screens.
McCaffrey, man. That was a great thing. McCaffrey wasn't even on a team to start the year. Think about that.
It's going to be interesting. Last one of my topics is, so yesterday I was getting on a flight, Frontier. We have like the small little airport here in Trenton. Canceled. And I would like to say that's the exception, but if you guys have been following the news at all, it's sort of become the rule. Southwest has had issues. I mean, I was watching AG, the OG story. She's struggling. People all over the country are struggling to get home and fly and all that stuff. And think about it this way, right? So 2022 was the year of the new show, right? So we know cards have gotten hit, but we're like, the shows are sold out. People are going to shows. The demand's there. But I'm worried about the quantity of shows, and with any little bit of friction, that's like, think about it. So for me to go to a show, I have to put up airfare, I have to put up hotel, food, and then I have to worry also about recouping my costs and sales. But now if you add on the uncertainty of flying and delays and all that stuff, well, now maybe instead of going to 4 shows in the first 6 months, I might go to 1, and I choose it strategically.
Yep.
So with these issues in travel, it adds more friction to people like you and I who want to go to shows, who have desire to go to shows. And my hope is this is a holiday issue and not a persisting issue into 2023.
Did you get yourself bounced and get paid for it? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, they gave you like a $50 voucher, and I just have a flight on Saturday.
Did you accept a $50 voucher when they say, hey, we're looking for people to get bumped, or did your actual flight get canceled?
I left before the flight got canceled. I just asked them to rebook it.
Dude, all right. I mean, if they're
I
looking for
don't. I
people to
don't.
get bumped, you get like $1,000.
I don't play that game.
All right. I was curious. I've never done it myself. If I fly, I want to get on the flight that I booked. And, I don't like that whole like sitting in an airport. I had a friend who I used to work with 15, 20 years ago, and he basically made a career getting bumped on flights. He thought it was the greatest thing on earth. He's like, I book a hotel. I booked 3 different hotels that I could cancel. I hope I get bumped. I'll sleep in the airport. I'll have them put me up in a hotel. He once got bumped 4 different flights. Was supposed to fly out on a Saturday morning, got in on Sunday night, and had like $3,500 worth of like airplane vouchers just for an extra
He
day.
knows the system. He knows the system.
Yeah, he definitely does know the system. But I was like, dude, you missed a day of vacation sitting in an airport. I'm like, what are you doing? But to him, it was worth it. To me, I would never do that. But I got a couple more for you, if that's all right. Because I don't know if you want to be huge news stuff on the shows.
All the time in the world.
On the shows. I think it's a very important topic because the shows have been driven by a lot of different stuff. When the market's up, shows are being attended by various people. You got the vendors there, right? First and foremost, right? The vendors are going to be there. One, like you said, if they can, not have too many issues with travel, and then the show is good enough for them to make that money back and make some money. Otherwise, why spend your weekend doing it? Why travel? Why put in the effort? Why put in the work? Why lose downtime, in your store or wherever it is? You got to close up shop. Why pay someone, an employee, to go? So right off the bat, it's that, just the vendors. But how about attendees, right? We talked about how, one, it's difficult for attendees to go. And you also have, attendees kind of split now. So, I mean, like, what show will you be going to next?
Burbank.
So if you would have said Dallas, which is a week from this weekend, like the 14th to the 16th, I think, which is a big show, I would say I'm not going to that one because the East Coast Tarrytown show with, I know Black Shaded Wolf will be out. We'll probably talk about that in our next episode with Pete Alonso signing and all that other fun stuff. It's like a pretty big show regionally here. It's not competing with Dallas per se, but the vendors, the East Coast vendors and the Dallas vendors, they either have to split in the whole 9 yards. There's a lot of these shows. Then the attendees, who's going to go, and then let's really lay it on the line here. The shows have also been frequented and gotten publicity by influencers. Are we allowed to say that? Are we allowed to say that people went to shows and made videos at those shows and just showed up and tried to make deals at those shows and, put content out there on YouTube and whatnot? I don't know whether or not that many people will be frequenting those shows if it's worth it for them to go if the market is down. And then how do they pick which show to go to if it's a, battle of which show?
The better show.
Which one's better?
It's the one that you have more fun at.
Well, how are you going to know that ahead of time? You got like a crystal ball?
Well, I mean, like one is, I think, Chantilly and Mint, right? Mm-hmm. Do you prefer like an autograph type of show, or do you prefer sort of like a thought leadership show? It's up to you. You know what both are before the get. These aren't new. Mint was new, but Chantilly's been around.
But I mean, how do you know ahead of time as a vendor which one's going to be better for you?
I see. As a dealer, as a vendor, huh?
I mean, a lot of that is, I guess, deals you set up beforehand. A lot of that is also who's going to provide the best foot traffic. And going in knowing that the foot traffic from bigger buyers across the country is going to be split because you have these 2 big shows on one weekend. It's an interesting topic. It's a topic to dive into, and I'm curious to see how it all unfolds because, like everything else, I think to right-size the hobby, we need less releases, we need less product. I think that takes care of itself. I got a message yesterday from somebody saying, hey, did you look on Target? There's Prism available right now. Football and basketball, just sitting right there on Target. Used to be when that happened, I used to put a message up. Remember in our groups, or I'd post a picture of it and a link to like Target, and it would be gone in 10 minutes. People would be like, oh man, it's not there anymore. Now you can go on Target probably as you listen to this and buy blasters and, mega boxes and fat packs and all the other fun stuff. Part of the reason is because they increased the price. So, what used to be a $19.99 blaster is now $29.99. And it doesn't have as good of stuff in it as it used to have. So
they increased the price?
Yeah. They went from a $20 blaster to a $30 blaster. And
is this Panini or Topps?
Prism. This is just I'm just talking about Prism right now, football and but I don't know if it's Panini or if it's Target doing it to kind of bring it back in. But if you think about that, why I say it'll right size, it'll fix itself is Target wasn't able to keep the stuff in stock. They've now gotten stuff in stock at a time where demand is less because you can't just rip open a Prism box and grade the rookies for a profit, right? Target doesn't know that because they're not in the weeds on the pricing as much as, folks who are in the hobby as much as. So they said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to bring this back and we're going to set the price point higher. And in a week or a month or a quarter, they're going to look at their sales and say, okay, I wonder why we used to have this and it flew off the shelves and we couldn't keep it in stock. And now no one's buying it. You're going to have to figure out, all right, there's less demand. So what do you have to do? You have to fix the pricing on that. Maybe they don't order as much from Panini. Maybe the retail doesn't have the demand that it does from these two, behemoths of Walmart and Target. And the thing starts to right size. And Panini realizes they're not going to get the orders from Target because Target realizes they're not going to be able to make the profit that they were able to make. Price comes down, supply amount comes down because the demand is not there. I think you're going to see that in cards. I think you're going to see that in the products and the releases. If you look on just Target right now, not only are you going to see like retail boxes, you see a million different types of sets. And when the market was popping and it was going great, remember the Hoops premium stock, like Pulsar premium stock, like just a whole set, and it had like a couple little like random, like you had a shot of getting 5 gold cards or whatever it was in there, and it's a full set, $100, $200. There's a million of those on Target right now. I don't know anybody who's buying those things. No one's buying that stuff anymore. So that stuff is gonna disappear. I think the card manufacturers are not the only place. The retail stuff, that's not the only place where that's going to get impacted as we see sort of like the demand go down, as we see not as much money flow here. I think you're going to see that same sort of, contraction in shows as well, and I think you're going to see as you want to call them, good shows, the good shows win out. Some of the other shows, not happen as much. There's been a humongous increase in the volume of shows, the amount of shows. And when people are going to have to decide where they're going to go, people have less money to spend themselves. So someone who traveled to 8 shows a year is now going to do 5 or 4. Or a vendor who traveled every weekend is now going to go 30 weekends. So your dollars are going to speak. Your time is going to speak. And there's not going to be enough foot traffic. There's not going to be enough deal flow. There's not going to be enough people to go to all of the shows that are out there now. So, yeah, I think the shows are in. I mean, if the point you were trying to make is it's going to be an interesting year for shows, I agree entirely.
Two things on that. So, one, oversupply at retailers and people aren't buying, and then shows might not have the same foot traffic. I think shows have the opportunity to work with different businesses to offset the cost of travel some way, some shape or form, to create a fun program at the show. Whether that's, Cage has a million ideas, so I'm actually going to save you guys time. He could share. Retail not selling, I love it, man. I'm nothing would make me happier than Panini going out of business faster.
Wow.
I think they're just a terrible company. I think they're inept. I think their CEO's terrible. There would be nothing that would make me happier because, look, I don't wish ill on anybody, but I also feel that companies who've done well have a responsibility to take care of the consumers in that industry. And I think we're not going to beat a dead horse. We talked about redemptions, oversupply of product, junk quality control, using patches that aren't legit, sticker autos that aren't even of the right player, just a whole bunch and a whole slew of things. Bad businesses should die, and good businesses should rise from those ashes. And nothing would make me happier than that. Honestly, I'm just a staunch capitalism. I love competition, and I hate businesses that take huge executive bonuses. And now allegedly, because they're a private company, I don't know how much in bonus, but I know how much their top line is because we've all seen.
How would Panini going under help competition? Wouldn't that just leave Fanatics?
Right. It's a kind of like a 2-step process. Panini's going under no matter what because they don't have any licenses. But I'm a huge meritocracy guy, and I don't believe
people love it when you talk meritocracy. People love it.
Dude,
it's like one of their favorite things.
Is that
Keep
serious?
going. Oh yeah, 100%. I get so many comments about you talking about meritocracy.
Isn't that what this country was founded on? Like, that's what the American dream is. Like, you could come here, work hard, and no one's going to stand in your way. If you compete at the highest levels, you'll be able to win. That's the American dream. That's sort of what like I was raised on. So it's such a core value of mine. And I don't feel that Panini has done their best to.
So I can't disagree with you. I mean, I'm not rooting for their demise or their downfall. What I am going to root for is this. I'm going to say, if you look at the glass half full, that like a lot of other companies, like a lot of other businesses, the boom cycle was a humongous thing that kind of came out of nowhere, right? And I know you have no love lost for grading companies or whatever it might be, but think about how the grading companies weren't prepared for the boom in cards, and then some of them even had to close down, right? But use PSA as the example, right? They shut down. They had a humongous backlog. That's something similar to the redemptions, right? But it's completely within their control, so they were able to catch up, fix it, you name it. And what happened? They've now right-sized. The grading companies have all right-sized. Some grading companies have disappeared, but the ones that were there before, the stronger ones, they've now right-sized, and they're now pricing back to the demand. And you could say that they're watching demand, they're watching supply. Every month, every quarter, there's going to be different specials, and you name it, the whole deal. And I think they learn from it. And what my hope would be is that while there are no perfect businesses in the hobby, right, that a company like Panini would do the same. And we give them the benefit of the doubt that they, like other companies in the hobby, weren't ready for this huge explosion of demand. And because of that, the redemptions got out of hand, crazy out of hand. They produced way too many products that had to have way too many redemptions, that also had bad quality control, that also had bad sticker autos and dicks, non-game use, you name it. And my hope would be that in lieu of going out of business, and no evidence that this is going to happen, but again, my dream here would be that a company like that would turn around and say, okay, we expect now less hobby participants. We see less people buying. So let's trim the fat. Let's focus on this product, that product, this. Let's focus on our core 10, let alone the 20 we release. And on the top 3, let's make sure we're only doing game use. Make sure we're going to do everything we can to not have redemptions in this product. Even if we have to put it off a little bit and make sure when the season ends is when it gets released and we get the game use and blah, blah, blah. Like my hope would be that we'd steer towards that, and that, they would now be able to, as demand comes down and as the demands on them are less, that their quality control, their products, you name it, come back and do the right thing. Sort of like, I don't use Top Shot because everybody hates it, but sort of like, Top Shot, they boom, 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 1,000, 3,000, 60,000. All right, well, now they're back down to 4,000. You know what I mean? They're trying to figure out the right way of doing it to match their supply and the demand. I hope Panini does that, because a strong Panini, I believe, will keep Topps fanatics honest. I believe it allows for better pricing competition. I believe it allows for quality products that are out there. And you can't just have one company. Then the consumer gets beat up.
That's monopoly. The key word there is strong Panini. I think, and I wasn't around in 2011, 12, 13, ripping wax and all that. Maybe it was a strong Panini then. I think if you polled, sample size 1,000 participants, I think 85% would say that the last few years they've been disenchanted and disappointed.
Oh yeah, 100%. 100%. Myself included. I mean, I hear it. Look, every time we put a piece of content out there, there's somebody in the comments saying, how can you defend that? And by the way, what about the redemptions? Like, I can put up, my Christmas tree is fake this year. I apologize. I normally have a live tree. And most comments are like, I have a fake tree. I have a real tree. Oh, what kind of ornaments do you have? Oh, let me see a picture of the tree. What about those redemptions at Panini? That's nothing to do with the damn Christmas tree, but there's people out. It is a big deal, and I get it. So, I mean, you might even be shy on the 80%.
So there's a cool post. Propstein's hilarious, by the way. Whichever way you kind of slice it. I think he has such a cool sense of humor. He did a video yesterday spotlighting a guy who went through each of the 84 patches of the LeBron card. So the LeBron Exquisite card, which a lot of people is like the best RPA ever made, right? That's from a road jersey of his rookie year, right?
Mm-hmm.
So think about that, guys. What is this card? What is this collector's item? It's an item that they took a jersey, which probably would sell for maybe $1 million. It would be a very revered item if it was in its completion, right? The full jersey. They took it, they created a piece of art where they used a photo, they numbered it to 99, and they cut this jersey up. And now if you look at all the Exquisite cards, they probably have sold for 15, 20 million combined, right? So they added value. They've added value. They took an idea and they're like, we're going to use a game-used jersey from his rookie year. He's going to be an on-card auto, beautiful card, and that now is considered the card. Think about that with the Luka NT. So we're going to look 20, 25 years from now, and that's going to be the card, right? That's like the card of this generation, similar to the way the LeBron was of the. But then people are going to find out. They're like, that's not even a jersey Luka wore. That's number 88. That's not even his real number. Right. And by the way, we're not even sure if that's his real signature or his mom's.
It's interesting. It's definitely interesting. Whereas the Exquisite, some of them have like a really nice LeBron signatures on them. Some have very nice looking signatures. It's on the card. The 88. I mean, at least go get a Boban jersey. That way we could have some fun with it. I mean,
so it's like, and I think that irks people.
I get you. And my hope is that it as the demand gets right sized, as their ability to kind of keep up with that demand is right sized. My hope is that we see a better product. There's no evidence at all besides just me hoping for it that proves or leads me to believe that that's actually going to happen. It's sort of like more of when you do your, hey, you're the CEO of the hobby, what do you do? And I'm like, if we're in fantasy land, let's let Panini fix everything. Okay. So it's more that I guess I'm hopeful of that because look, a lot of things you're talking about, those are things that keep people in the hobby, right? I mean, you ask people about that LeBron, and people will talk about that and say that is a grail for them. That is a modern piece of art. That is the card. And yeah, the Luka card, which was not made by Upper Deck, is made by Panini, has a chance to be that. But think about the comparison you just made, how it's not even his jersey and it may not even be his signature. So yeah, it's not exactly a great, thing for your legacy. It's like, hey, Panini had a chance to do this. Well, what is their signature card?
I think maybe, if we ask you, it's the Prism Gold from 2012.
Yes. I like Prism Gold. Or it could be the 09 National Treasure. It's amazing to think their signature card is their first foray into it when Topps was still out there. And it's go ahead.
National Treasures was a brand before this.
Yes, but not a Panini brand,
it
right?
Wasn't. Panini bought it. I think it was a Dunris brand, right?
So look, National Pride Leaf does. They've even National Pride Leaf did, and then now Mosaic has National Pride as a subset in their stuff with flags on it. Hey, people borrow from each other. It's just the way the hobby is. I guess where I'm going with it is more of when you did your great analysis of the 53 Bowman color Mickey Mantle, which I love, and I think you clearly brought some awareness to that card because it was one of the top selling cards in this past week's weekly auction. Gorgeous card. And I talked about how the advancements made in that set, the first color photo, you name it, was because of the battle between the two juggernaut companies fighting for your dollar. If Panini is going to be trash, then, there's the only person who suffers is us because Topps can basically put a dump in a box, right? It's like a Callahan breaks. It's like, is it, only reason why somebody puts a guarantee on a box because they're selling you a guaranteed piece of crap.
Is this the breaker we left off the Hobby Awards?
No, that's Tommy Big Tom Callahan, Callahan Auto, Tommy Boy, Chris Farley.
You love Chris Farley. People say it's hilarious.
He's great. A great slapstick sort of very physical comedy. Always falling through tables, living down by the river in a van by the river.
I love the PBD podcast. He's doing a good thing with it, and he had Chris Farley's brother on to talk about kind of Chris Farley's legacy and stuff like that. It's pretty cool. He interviews politicians, comedians, MMA fighters. Interesting.
Let me throw something out there for content people, right? But it's not just card collectors, or content people who listen to this and the whole deal, right? I put a hashtag out there yesterday, and it didn't do as well as I expected to. And the hashtag was "Show Your PC in 23." Little hashtag "Show Your PC in 23." That way we can kind of have a collector's series. Love the DPZ, the PC with DPZ content that's out there on the Luca Nation Network. Great spotlight of great content. Love this stuff. It's a different type of vibe, and it really gets back to the basis of hey, we're collecting for a reason. What's the nostalgia? What's the draw to collect? I did a video with one of my Ken Griffey Jr. cards. People in the hobby liked it. A lot of people thought it was a cool card and liked the concept of it. But as far as views go, it didn't get the views of try not to spill your blueberries and some of the other funny videos like that. But I have one video that was collector focused that really has a lot of outside the hobby folks looking at it. The last time I looked at it, it was charging towards 100,000 views. Last time I looked at it, it had 95,000 views. But the funny thing about it is I have 3,800 followers, which means that it's reached over 90,000 accounts that are not people who follow me. And the vast majority of them are not hobby accounts. I got into a conversation this morning with somebody who is a Broadway, a theater person. And we were making comparisons because, of course, his commentary was that those people are all going to die in your video. The hobby's dead. And I said, well, what's the average age of a theater goer? I mean, I guess it means Broadway is about to die. I mean, so, back and forth. I'm trying to bring attention to, to the fact that collectors have been here for a long time in the hobby. Take a look at that video. But here's why. I want to know why that video is doing what it did. It's just me breathing too heavy. If I could do it over, I would, because it was one of my first times trying to do a voiceover video. Andrew made fun of me immediately.
Cage did a 5K and then he recorded right after.
No, I did this. I was trying to make sure you could hear me, so I put like this instead of just.
Fine. He did a 5K calorie challenge.
I've never done a
5K of Chick-fil-A sandwiches in under 5 minutes.
I probably did record that right after eating Chick-fil-A, but that is sort of like a 50-50 proposition. I'm recording this episode after eating Chick-fil-A, so I mean, it's just the way things work.
Meant running 5K.
But you ready for this?
5,000 calories in under 5 minutes is actually the 5K.
That video has been viewed I think it might be more than every other video I've ever prepared, and I don't understand it. So somebody look at it and tell me why.
No one cares. It's vain.
I mean, I care because I'm curious why.
Do you know that for our Coffee with Cage episode, one of the questions we got was, hey, does Andrew care that Cage has more followers than him? You want to answer that question?
The answer is no. As a matter of fact, you're always saying I should have more followers and that we should work to get my follower count up. So that's how you should have answered it. Andrew's the most selfless person in the world. He lets me come in here and talk about LeBron, despite the fact that he cannot stand LeBron. And I don't really like LeBron. So he knows what I'm doing. I'm not even a LeBron fan. I own, I think, 3 LeBron cards, and I'm trying to sell them all. but I mean, yeah, go ahead.
So if I was asked on a panel at Mint, kind of how building a podcast, building a brand online in 2023, there's actually the hobby is alive. Actually, we posted something about how, about followers and, these bought followers. I think the reason people care about followers is because if we look back since the social media age, we've equated followers with money and followers with influence. But to me, it's similar to the stats we talk about with basketball. It's only one piece of the pie. So followers are great. But what really matters, in my opinion, early on is community and trust. So and this is why people who have millions of followers can convert and have them actually have business impact, because yes, they have a lot of followers, but those followers are there to maybe look at their photo, but they don't actually have trust. So my suggestion to people in the content space, focus less on followers and top of the line numbers and worry more about depth, engagement, and connection with your community.
So because mine is not worry. It's just I don't understand it, right? But it's right what you're saying. I look at YouTube and I see how many people watch our videos, and then I see our subscriber count, and then I see other content creators in the hobby who have 10 times, 20 times the subscribers, but their videos get the same amount, if not less, watches.
Okay.
I think that's what you're talking about. So just looking at the subscriber count, it would tell you, oh, wow, we're 1/10 of what those folks are. But every time we put a video out, it gets the same engagement, if not better engagement than some of these other accounts that have 10 times or 20 times the followers. So that follower number it's a stat that is sort of almost irrelevant.
But take it one step further. The reason why we care about that is because when we go to the sponsorship meetings and people say, hey, why do you have 1,900 followers, right? We think it's going to equate to money, but we make as much, if not more than any of any of those podcasts, of any of those networks. So what I look at, the data I look at on our YouTube channel is retention. Anchor gives you this, and YouTube, how long do people watch the videos? Commentary, are the comments thoughtful? Are we generating the right values within our community? Are we introducing people within our community to each other? So that to me is much more important, because I know we'll get to 1 million subs. But I don't want to get to 1 million subs and no one trusts us. I don't want to get to 1 million subs and 999,999 hate us. But we could get there. But that's not my goal. My goal is when we get there, we have a strong core of who we are, what we stand for, and what we believe. And that's to build a better hobby. It's that discourse and debate should be introduced into the ecosystem more. We shouldn't have the Montagues and the Capulets. We should be able to bring them together. And if we need to build that strong foundation, that strong core before we go viral.
Yeah, I like this though, because I don't know how it works. So it's funny. I learn from this podcast less about cards and more about this stuff. So when I ask a question, I can't even spell algorithm. I don't know how this shit works. I'm actually looking to learn. I'm sure there are people out there who know way more than I do. So yeah, I don't know what it. So it's funny. I'm waiting for someone to come. My daughter looked at my videos and looked at that one and said, "I know why this did well," and she gave me what her answer was. And she's made videos. I'm not going to tell you because I want to see if somebody else says the same thing. So, and she's made videos that have hundreds of thousands of views on YouTube. Hundreds of thousands of views on YouTube. And she just does it. It's like 10 seconds, boom, 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 puts it out there and has a channel. So right now, I think she may be right. And maybe I'll lean into it. But I'm curious to see if anybody else says the same thing. Just because I don't know. I'm an idiot. I got blueberries spilling on the ground. Like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing with these videos. And yet some hit and some don't. And I guess that's just the way it is, you know? So I'm curious whether anybody out there has the secret sauce. I don't think there is one.
It's definitely not starting Kirk Cousins in any of your fantasy leagues, because that guy is terrible.
Okay, you had to be on a deserted island, right? And the way to get off that deserted island is to play 2-on-2. Yes. All right? You could either play 2-on-2 football or 2-on-2 basketball. I'm not telling you who you're playing against. But your teammate on 2-on-2 football is Kirk Cousins. Your teammate in 2-on-2 basketball is LeBron James. All right? Which one are you picking?
I like to win, man. I'm so I don't know the word. I'll put all my differences aside to win. I love to win.
All right.
I think I hate to lose actually more, but I really am trying to shift that because I think it's a disease. I love to win, man. There's no feeling. Winning is more fun than fun is fun.
You like that saying. Here's one from me. 2023 might not start off the way you expected it to, guys. You might have already had a big bowl of ice cream, had already busted up some of those New Year's resolutions on the 3rd. It doesn't make a difference. You still got 362 more days to go. If you made a mistake, great. Things can only look up from there. Think about the Munger quote that this handsome individual sitting across from me gave you. Sometimes it's easier to start the year off with the wrong foot, right? Sometimes it's easier to start the year off with a loss because then you've got that out of the way already. And if you started off following on your resolutions and you're going to the gym, good on you too. Keep up the good work. I guess there's no right way of doing it. I just, as we start 2023, I know I'm starting a little sluggish, which is not good, but I'll catch my stride. And however you guys start it, remember, it's not how you start the race. It's how you finish it.
Sluggish because of internal thing or external? Like sluggish because of your own habits?
Well, I mean, sluggish because it was a nice, relaxing time to end the year, and it's tough to start the engine back up, when it's, when it hasn't been started in a while. Plus, the weather's kind of crappy, and there's a lot of stuff that has to be done that I don't want to do any of, and like that kind of stuff. And it's human nature, where but you'll get rolling.
Tactical piece of advice that's changed my life. So I've always loved to play sports. I've always loved to compete. I don't really do that now for exercise. Here's where I go. If you guys really want, forget 75 hard, go for 2 walks every single day. 2 45-minute walks. Doesn't matter the weather. Make it happen. Find the time to do that. 45-minute walks, 2 of them every single day this year. Your life will change.
You listen to music on the walks? You listen to all right. I was cleaning my basement this morning. I was listening to Cajun recap PWCC's auction.
I listen to music. Sometimes I listen. One of my favorite channels is faith music. It's like there's this like peaceful music.
Dan Nolte. Dan Nolte was a faith musician. We had him on.
Is there words to it? No.
Yeah, there's words.
I'm talking about Dapper Keys on YouTube. Okay. No, Dapper Keys on YouTube.
It's not like jars of clay.
It's piano. How I remember it as I search faith music in the title, but it's
like a little
piano.
Rachmaninoff.
It's so good, man. You know, like I know this is brain dump, but like they say shower thoughts, like the best thoughts come in the shower.
I mean,
it's because your brain waves are in a theta state, which is peak creativity and stuff. I believe that kind of music puts you in a theta brainwave state, and it's creative. It's where a lot of your problem solving abilities will come from. It's where a lot of peace will come from. So I walk with that now, but I've walked with listening to audiobooks. Sometimes I'll listen to like what's going on in the world. I found that was a little bit. Sometimes listening to news makes you more anxious.
Fair.
And sometimes you need to learn use it as a tool. Don't let it use you with that kind of stuff.
Okay. I like it.
We're rambling. Listen, we'll be back.
I tried to give like a whole deal there. I saw a fun thing. It's not my quote, so don't do it. I mean, I get a lot of quotes from my dad. I've seen the stuff on this, right? And they talk about like you control your surroundings. Don't let your surroundings control you. And they talk about the boiling water. You see that quote?
If you put an egg into boiling water, it'll make it hard. If you put a carrot in boiling water, it'll make you soft. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, potato, egg, carrot works too. But I mean, the whole deal. I like those. It's, fun little sayings. I like to walk, but I have a feeling I'm not going to go for 2 walks because it's freaking cold. Unless my commute to work.
That's why you do it, because no one else will, dude.
That doesn't make any sense.
Think about that. So you're walking. It's raining. It's raining on you for
a little while. And on my walk, I'm going to take all my money with me. And every 10 steps, I'm going to drop a $20 bill. Why? Because no one else would do it.
No. That's not what I'm saying. You're on this walk. You're like, no one else is doing it. And what happens is your identity changes. You believe you're worth more. You're like, I'm out here doing the hard work that no one else is willing to do. I deserve to be successful. I deserve to reach great heights. I'm putting in the effort and the time to accomplish these things.
If I go for a walk in January, I am going to change. You're 100% right. My skin is going to be red and chapped. My lips will be chapped, and I'll just be covered in snot. That's what happens when you go for a walk in the winter. No.
Microcosm of basically 890 episodes of behind the scenes of mindset, mentality, confidence, self-help that Andrew brings. Jokes, humor that Cage brings.
Well, you get in the right mindset. I'll just work a 9 to 5, and we'll see who has more when we die.
I think you were born with the right mindset. You have a great mindset. Luca Nation, we love you. We'll be back tomorrow. You'll be hearing this Tuesday night, January 3rd. Please check out our episode of Cajun Cardboard, where we just take a deep dive into the NBA.
This is a good one.
Tomorrow at noon.
Oh, hey now.
The Collector Series, Sports Car Dad. Hats off to you. Amazing episode.
That was a good episode. Great conversation.
This upcoming week, we have Bro Namath, and then we have Bagels with Wax on the series. It's going to be
the Alliance.
The Alliance. They should look at what that means. That's a wartime type of the allies.
They're the Alliance.
Some people that are beautiful don't need a lot of brains.
Who's beautiful? Are you calling Vadim beautiful?
I am.
I think you just called Vadim beautiful. He's going to like that. He's going to reach out to you now. Be very happy about that. Good job.
I doubt it. Very difficult person to please, but has a lot to say. He has strong opinions, and I'm very interested for the Bro Namath episode, for the Bagels and Wax. Spinatron is coming down the pike. I mean, there's already 15 episodes that we have queued for you guys in the Collector Series. We love you. We'll be back tomorrow.